The village of Mbale was known for many things. Its sprawling yam fields, the festival drums that echoed under the moonlight, and most notably, the whispers of Mama Kintu's haunted estate. Perched on the hill at the edge of the village, her grand house overlooked the entire settlement like a silent judge. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the late Kintu, a man whose shadow loomed larger in death than it ever did in life. It was said that his spirit roamed the grounds, restless and vengeful. Some claimed they'd seen his glowing eyes in the banana grove at night. Others swore they'd heard his guttural growl as they passed the mango trees. But none dared approach to confirm these tales. Not even Mama Kintu herself, though she dismissed the rumors with a tired wave of her hand. Baltasar Egonga, however, was not one to fear shadows or spirits. A man of boundless charisma and a touch of mischief, he viewed the world as a field to sow his unique brand of charm. When he first heard of Mama Kintu and her legendary wealth, he leaned back under the baobab tree, grinning. "A haunted widow, you say?" he asked the village barber, whose hands froze mid-snip. "Yes," the barber whispered, glancing around as though the late Kintu's spirit might materialize. "Her husband guards her like a lion guards a carcass." Baltasar chuckled, his teeth gleaming. "Then let's hope this lion has a soft spot for a man of my talents." An invitation unintended. It began on a sweltering market day. Baltasar had heard that Mama Kintu rarely ventured out, sending her housemaid to fetch supplies. But on this day she appeared, draped in vibrant Ankara fabric that shimmered in the sun. Her neck was adorned with beads that jingled softly with each deliberate step, and her presence silenced the market chatter. Baltasar wasted no time. He sidled up to her stall, where she examined a bundle of cassava leaves with the precision of a queen inspecting jewels. "Ah, Mama Kintu," Baltasar greeted, his voice as smooth as fresh palm wine. "Surely these humble cassava leaves don't deserve the honor of your touch." She turned, one eyebrow arching like a question mark. "And who might you be to judge cassava leaves?" "A humble admirer of beauty," he said with a slight bow, his grin widening. Mama Kintu chuckled, her laugh unexpectedly hearty. "Admire beauty all you want, young man, but it won't make cassava leaves cheaper." "Perhaps not," Baltasar said, picking up a leaf. "But I hear you have a farm where the cassava grows sweeter than anywhere else in the village. Surely such sweetness comes from your care." Mama Kintu's expression softened, though her eyes still held suspicion. "You have a silver tongue. What is your name?" "Baltasar Egonga," he replied, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "And I have a silver heart to match." The ghost's warning. That night, Baltasar stood at the edge of Mama Kintu's estate. The moon cast long shadows over the banana grove, and the air buzzed with the hum of crickets. He had expected this moment to feel exhilarating, but a strange unease crept up his spine. "Egonga," he muttered to himself. "You've faced angry husbands, jealous lovers, and even the chief's whip. What's a ghost compared to that?" As he approached the gate, a sudden rustling stopped him in his tracks. He turned, squinting into the darkness, and froze when he saw it, two glowing orbs like embers floating in the night. A voice boomed from the shadows. "Leave now, mortal, or face the wrath of Kintu." Baltasar's heart skipped a beat, but he quickly steadied himself. "If you're truly Kintu, then you should know why I'm here," he called out. The orbs blinked. "Why?" Baltasar grinned. "Because your widow deserves companionship, and who better than I to provide it?" Silence. Then the voice returned, weaker this time. "Just don't touch my wine calabash." Baltasar chuckled, striding confidently through the gate. "Noted, my ghostly friend. Harvesting more than yams." Inside, Mama Kintu welcomed him with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "You actually came," she said, handing him a steaming bowl of yam porridge. "I did," Baltasar replied, settling onto the woven mat. "And I must say, this porridge alone was worth braving the ghostly threats." Mama Kintu laughed, a sound that filled the room like sunlight. "You're either brave or foolish, Baltasar Egonga." "Perhaps a bit of both," he said, his eyes twinkling. "But I've also heard that your farm is unmatched." I'd love to see it. She raised an eyebrow. You came here for yams. For yams, for your company, and perhaps for the stories this house holds, he said, leaning forward. Tell me, Mama Kintu, do you believe in ghosts? She hesitated, her gaze flickering to the window. I believe in the weight of memories, she said softly. Baltasar reached for her hand, his voice low and steady. Then let me help you carry that. Wait, if only for tonight. Humorous twist. What followed was a night of shared stories, stolen glances, and, as Baltasar would later boast, a connection that transcended the earthly plane. But just as things reached their peak, a loud crash echoed from the courtyard. Baltasar sprang up, his bravado faltering. Is that? Mama Kintu sighed. It's the wind knocking over the calabashes again. Or maybe Kintu finally decided to check on me. Baltasar froze, then burst into laughter. If it's Kintu, he owes me an apology. I've done nothing but respect his wine. Mama Kintu laughed too, and for the first time in years the house felt warm. As the night deepened, the air inside Mama Kintu's home grew warm with a mingling of laughter and quiet confessions. Outside, the moon climbed higher, its light spilling through the wooden lattice windows, painting intricate patterns on the walls. Baltasar Egonga, ever the charmer, leaned closer, his voice low and steady. Mama Kintu, he began. Do you ever tire of this house, of the silence it holds? She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. The silence is a companion. It asks no questions, demands no answers. Baltasar smiled, shaking his head. Silence may be patient, but it doesn't know how to listen the way a man like me does. For a moment Mama Kintu said nothing. Then she leaned back, studying him with the keen eyes of someone who had lived long enough to see through many masks. You think you're different, don't you? I don't think, Baltasar replied, his grin widening. I know. She chuckled, a sound like distant thunder. You're bold, Egonga. But boldness doesn't scare ghosts away. Baltasar moved closer, his hand brushing hers lightly. Maybe not, he whispered. But I'm not here to scare anything away. I'm here to share this moment with you. The spark. Mama Kintu's gaze lingered on his face, searching for the cracks in his bravado. But instead of cracks, she found warmth, a kind of reckless, unguarded sincerity she hadn't felt in years. You're a dangerous man, she said softly. Baltasar grinned, leaning in until his voice was barely audible. Danger can be thrilling in the right hands. The room seemed to shrink around them, the space between their bodies humming with unspoken tension. Slowly, Mama Kintu reached out, her fingers grazing his cheek. Are you always like this? She murmured. Only when the moment calls for it, he replied, his voice deep and smooth. With a deliberate slowness, she closed the distance between them, her lips brushing his in a tentative kiss that quickly deepened. Baltasar's arms encircled her, drawing her close as the weight of her loneliness seemed to melt away. The harvest of passion. They moved together like dancers in a rhythm only they could hear. The woven mat beneath them crinkled softly, and the scents of dried herbs and firewood filled the air. Mama Kintu's hands explored his back, tracing the contours of muscles honed by years of work and wanderlust. Baltasar, in turn, was gentle yet firm, his touch igniting sparks that spread like wildfire. The room's dim light softened their silhouettes, casting shadows that flickered against the walls like the spirits of the past giving their quiet blessing. Mama Kintu, for all her strength and guardedness, surrendered to the moment. Her laughter earlier had been light, but now her breaths were heavier, punctuated by whispers of his name. Baltasar, ever attuned to his partner, moved with reverence, as though the act itself was a sacred dance. Egonga, she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. He paused, his forehead resting against hers. Yes, Mama Kintu. She smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. I didn't think I could feel this alive again. Baltasar kissed her softly, his voice a soothing murmur. You deserve this. Every bit of it. Quiet aftermath. Later, as they lay side by side, the silence in the room felt different, not heavy or foreboding but peaceful. Mama Kintu traced idle circles on Baltasar's chest, her thoughts miles away. "Do you believe in ghosts now?" she asked, her tone teasing. Baltasar chuckled, pulling her closer. "If they exist, they'll have to wait their turn. Tonight, you're the only spirit I'm interested in." Her laughter filled the room again, this time unrestrained. Outside, the banana grove swayed gently in the breeze, and if the late Kintu's spirit was watching, he chose to remain silent. For this night belonged to the living, and to the man bold enough to embrace it. Don't miss the next thrilling chapter. Baltasar Egonga's journey has just begun. If you thought The Widow's Harvest was captivating, wait until you see what's coming next. Each episode brings new adventures, untold secrets, and unforgettable characters. Subscribe to the channel now to follow every twist, turn, and tantalizing escapade. Share your thoughts on this episode in the comments and let us know your favorite moment. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss the next episode in this electrifying series. The adventure continues soon.